it's not an easy thing to get across in a very short, pithy way.
Here at Stancold, we take green energy to heart. Part of our plan for the next few years is to change our fleet of vehicles to electric or hybrid electric vehicles. We've got several here now, there's 3 or 4 here, including mine with the charging point, which is the other side of the car, by the way. Some of the other staff here, having watched us charge our vehicles, have bought their own. There's a couple here in the car park.
Actually, Patrick, there's far more involved than you're letting on there. Using electric vehicles in our fleet and adding solar panels to the roof is only just the start. There's far more involved. The reporting and the processing and data collection needed is really what's going to give us the proof that we are carbon neutral. We can't really be making any assumptions. We know that in marketing at the moment there's a lot of talk around sustainability and eco-friendliness, but we really need to have the evidence there to back it up. This is where a company like Future Leap comes in.
So carbon neutrality is when you effectively neutralise your carbon emissions, first by cutting them out of your supply chain, and then by investing in carbon offsets in order to account for the rest. We helped Stancold to achieve carbon neutrality by measuring their carbon footprint. We actually did this to scopes 1, 2 and 3, which goes above and beyond what is generally required. We then did a site assessment to help them understand where they can achieve savings in their operations and through their behaviour change and through technological improvements. And then we helped them certify to the United Nations CNN, or Carbon Neutral Now accreditation, which is delivered by the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and requires a very robust sort of alignment to a series of processes, i.e. you have a great carbon footprint, you then reduce your footprint, you then offset the remainder, and then you communicate it.
It could be helpful to think about a company as a household in this situation. We can take a look at the makeup, i.e. the building in which it operates, the day-to-day running of the business, and then also the people that make it really what it is. We had to take a look at a range of elements to be able to account for our carbon intensity. This ranged from very basic elements to more substantial need for change. How people get to work, how people carpool to get to sites and other business-based meetings. And then we also took a look at, again, something else that's relatively basic, recycling, and sort of that brought into everyone's attitudes in terms of the good practice that they might have at home, bringing it back into the office and vice versa.
By going through the process, we've come out with our carbon reduction plan. That's 20 touch points realistically where we've got to look at, as a business, having a plan and following a plan in place for each one of those in order to try and work carbon out of our activities. The difficulty for us is that so much of our carbon is in our suppliers. It's not generated by people coming to work. It isn't generated in this building. So whilst all of that is completely within our control to do what we can to switch the lights off, to manage the heating, the air conditioning better, to try and encourage people to lift share or catch public transport, it's harder for us to convince our suppliers that they need to be taking some sort of action, or at the very least being able to measure and prove what their carbon footprint is, so we know what it is that we should be offsetting. But ultimately it's about driving everybody to just working the carbon out of their carbon intensity out of their operational businesses.
So we've spoken about cars, but they are not everything to us. Of course they are a benefit, but we look at the whole process. A lot of our clients look at their manufacturing processes to reduce their footprint as well. Even down to the way we buy food, who we buy our food from. In the current age that we live in, a lot of our clients look to us to support them as they grow their businesses forward. We are doing the best that we can from our side to promote this. Obviously the greener way of doing things is definitely better for the environment. We'll work closely and we collaborate with them. In fact, it's part and parcel of some tendering processes that we have this in place, and that we are actively seeking to reduce costs and our carbon footprint as a business. Our clients look to us to be providing that already.
Carbon neutrality and construction industry. Two words that don't probably fit together. Industry that I've been in all my life, we're probably the biggest cause of carbon. We've all been blasé about it and particularly people of my generation, and hopefully moving forward we can be a bit more thoughtful and kind to the environment, I suppose. When I started, we were building with block work and timber, which obviously are not recyclable. But now the more that can be done off-site, which can be controlled, is moved quite a lot in the last few years, but it's still got a very long way to go.
It's thought that the built environment contributes up to around 40% of the UK's carbon emissions. And obviously construction industry really contributes quite a lot to that. It's quite telling that at Futurely we don't actually work with a whole lot of construction companies, and realistically we should be, because in order to achieve any sort of transition to a greener future, net zero requires every stage of the value chain to be working towards decarbonisation at the same time. This isn't something that can happen in isolation. Therefore, it's really important and also really great when we work with people like Stancold who decide to include Scope 3, or to be more precise, to include the purchased goods and services aspect of Scope 3 within their reporting. What that allows is it allows them to shine a light on the carbon intensity of that supply chain and also communicate their intentions. It's very, very simple. It's just by measuring and reporting their own emissions, Stancold in turn are allowing their customers to accurately report and measure their own Scope 3 impact.
Yeah, the way the free market works is as business starts to move in that direction, other people will end up just having to, maybe more cynically, maybe not for the right reasons, but they'll be forced to make those decisions, because that is where the money is being spent, with businesses who are doing the right thing. It was more something that we felt as a business we needed to be doing the best we could for the environment, for our customers, and in all honesty, for our members of staff. People have their home lives and they have their work lives, and if for the 8-9 hours a day they're working here, the carbon that is being produced in that part of their life is taken care of, and they're doing everything they can at home to reduce their impact on the environment, then there will always be more, but we're making a pretty good chunk in our own little corner of the bit we can control. Becoming carbon neutral, so it's not anything to be scared of. It's a bit of hard work, and you've got to be dedicated to it. But hopefully the rewards will be, maybe not seen by our generation, but perhaps the generation after.
If you had like 20 minutes for me to just go, I'll start going on about scopes, then I would, but I don't think that's going to make for a particularly human video.